Good evening, good evening. Stake your claim with Gregory saying in the new Black Leadership, right here live, Facebook, IntellectualRadio.com, all over the world, the new Black Leadership, here live, Facebook Live, Intellectual Radio Live here, all for just you, all for just you. Sitting here with the founder, co-founder of the new Black Leadership, my friend, my brother, Minister Mike Muhammad. We're expecting another guest, Mr. Joe Watkins, in the studio. Be here shortly. Got caught up probably in that Chicago bad news bears traffic. Won't get into that, but I'm looking forward to a great show tonight. A lot of things I got to say. I definitely like to thank Almighty God for blessing us with another day of life on this planet called Earth. And I'm telling you, you might want to turn your television. If you're watching the Chicago Bears, you're wasting your time. So why don't you watch something that is worthy of your time? And I promise you, when I get through tonight, you're going to understand why you should never miss this show, ever. I got a commentary, but before I go into that commentary, I know my brother would like to greet the folks. He always show humility, but don't let that softness and humility, because he starts off really humble, and he is humble, but he's a lion. Only when you piss him off with you start talking about certain subject matters. But Minister Michael, how you doing today, brother?
Great, brother Gregory. Blessing to be back on the airwaves. I want to thank you again for hosting this show every week. And I want to thank your faithful viewers for tuning in to listen to our assessments, our analysis, our vision, our projections on the condition of Black people here in Chicago and throughout America and the world. We're very grateful to be able to have our voices heard. We're very grateful to Almighty God to be in a good frame of mind and not in a superficial or trivial or some stupor.
That's right.
And so oftentimes we speak with passion because we know we have to make a deep connection with our people who may be trapped by their fears, trapped by their doubts, that may labor under the burden of bad information that they get in the mainstream media and just the total dumbing down of America that is even worse for Black people. So when our viewers tune in, we want you to understand that we're trying to reach not only your ears, we're trying to reach your spirit and your heart. And we want you to know that we speak out of love. And we try to temper that love with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding so that we're just not a raving lunatic. But right. If you pay attention to the facts and the truth that we articulate, then you will understand that there is a need for passion, because what is happening to humanity
That's right.
is very egregious, let alone what is happening to Black people in America is almost unspeakable. And so we cannot speak about these things as though they are not that. And since I'm not a comedian, I know you tell a few jokes, Brother Gregory, and you kind of can make the crowd laugh and all of that. Sometimes we've got to be serious about what's happening to us.
That's right.
And so we thank the audience for bearing with us, because no messenger is perfect. No message is perfect except the message that resonates with the hurt and suffering that we have endured for over 400 years in America and continuing. So we thank you for tuning in.
Excellent, excellent. And Minister Michael is right. And you know, one of the things that I want to talk with you about tonight, and I really hope that some of you all will call in, because I think you really need to check this one out tonight and pay attention, because I really want to talk about unchecked capitalism. Unchecked capitalism. And I'm going to connect unchecked capitalism with all of the ills, and I'm going to bring it right to you. I mean, to the point where you'll get how you are being misled, you are being led astray. And I'm gonna give it to you so clear. Now, if you don't get it after this tonight about how unchecked capitalism is in fact connected to the scriptures. And so many of you all out there right now, you are debating, you are arguing over the first, and it's silly, it's so silly. The first black president, the first female president. No, what about the first president that will do what they need to do to make life better for the poor? Huh? Because the first evidently is not. So you got caught up in symbol versus the substance. And so there haven't been a lot of executive orders and decisions that have changed the plight of the poor. And so many of you all, you got to get this. When I say scriptures, I'm telling you, it ain't about Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. But can I put it in the text that I see personally? When Satan cast out Satan, you know you are near the end. I'm going to say that again. When Satan cast out Satan, you know you near the end. What am I saying over these airwaves? I'm telling you that when you look at capitalism, you know, there's a French term that you're familiar with called laissez-faire. And as laissez-faire means to, you know, it's really a government that is, you know, free enterprise. It really means free enterprise, that you are allowed to do business without regulations and etc. Right? And really deeper than that, when you look at the economic woes in our community, and you think about what's affecting our community at the core, and you talk about we need more resources. See, no, we need a damn job. We need a damn job. Some people just need a job. They need to be able to go and punch in or write in or sign in and get a check at the end of 2 weeks so that they can pay whatever. They need a job. They don't need just resources. See, that's a scheme. It's the easy way out. No, they need a job. And why aren't there job creations when it comes to the poor? Now, there's a contradiction, Minister Mike, where we know that when you look at, if Satan is casting out Satan and we at the end of the world, and greed is the #1 enemy to the poor, then why are intelligent people talking as though voting is going to change the reality that the people are in? Because we voted before and we had a happy moment. You all have to tell me if I'm wrong, then call me and tell me where I'm in error in terms of this conversation. I'm not telling you not to vote. You vote if you want to vote. But if you think voting is going to transfer into stopping the violence. You haven't heard one thing from neither candidate that will make you feel as though there would be a whole different reality for the poor and for black people. That's all. And this ain't about Miss Clinton or Mr. Trump. It's really about being misguided by those who claim to be leaders. That's why it's critical that we have new black leadership, period, that's not just fresh, but that ain't gonna play tricks and play games with what it really takes to fix what's wrong. I mean, viable solutions. Viable solutions. And I'm telling you, we are frustrated up to here with what's going on, but the real problem is you waste time listening. I wanted to throw up earlier, and I gotta say this. I was listening to a so-called black radio station this morning, and I listened to that garbage this morning, and I'm telling you, it was so disturbing because there's no guidance, no solution. And you and many of the things that you talk about, you're not even qualified to guide the people with the truth and dig through the rubbish so that people can walk away and turn their radio off and realize that it's not raining, that's piss. See, because you playing games. And I listened and I wanted to throw up, brother. And you know what I'm talking about. I'm not calling your name at all. I don't have to call any names. But I listened to that garbage, and I listened to another show on the same station. And it's disturbing because I keep hearing this tricknology of telling the people as though it's life and death. And then I gotta say this, brother Obama, for you all to make Trump, and Trump does have, in my opinion, a mental problem. I mean, there is something wrong with the brother. I mean, the guy. But the alternative, and so you want us to vote for people as an alternative, but they're afraid to say exactly what plan they have to help move our people from a condition that we've been in for so many years. We sidetracked about this. I'm telling you, 708-223-8953. 708-223-8953. If you'd like to join this conversation, and you'll be going live too over Facebook and Intellectual Radio. But I just don't want you to be entertained. I want you to think. Put on your thinking cap and tell me, do you think putting the first woman in office, and I think that's beautiful. I think that is beautiful. But if you just caught up in the first black, the first woman, and the conditions of our people hasn't changed in 8 years, and you telling me that it's all about that, that's symbol. That ain't substance. That's symbolic. Is she better than Trump? Maybe. I know one thing, she's struggling, and you can tell me why. Maybe the white male population or even some blacks are not comfortable in voting for a woman. That's not me. I think women deserve an opportunity to be in charge of whatever. I think women are, if it were not for women, I know in my case, and in probably many men's case, if it were not for females in the woman, we would be totally finished on this planet. I know we would in the black community if it were not for black women. We would not exist in terms of our survival because she has absolutely been the vanguard. But I think it's silly. For us just to vote symbolically because it's the first. Tell me if I'm wrong. You got an opportunity right here to tell me if I'm wrong. We should be voting for folks that are going to help us help ourselves. As long as we don't put ourselves in the frame of mind to fix our house, fix our community, fix our yard, clean up our room, then you can't fix and clean up any other rooms. That is a reality. Now, tell me if I'm lying. Tell me if I'm lying. That's the real deal. I see my guest, Brother Joe Watkins, just walked in. Man, I'm going off a little bit. Come on over, Joe. I want them to see your face. This is Brother Joe Watkins right here. And we're going to get right into it. Joe, move up some right there to the mic. Move up a little closer. Now, but Joe, I'm having a moment right here.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
And I'm giving a commentary on, and since Joe is the founding of Saving Our Seeds, right. Working with ex-offenders, as well as the chairman of the task force for Black political empowerment. So you are excellent to go on with, and then he's a member of the New Black Leadership. The man is a phenomenal man, and he's doing some things under some circumstances that he have right now. And I mean, he is an amazing man. And this goes to show you, because see, some of you all with your little bougie self, you think it's those individuals that are faking, that are pompous and they got certain credentials, or they look a certain way, dress a certain way. That's who attract you. But people who have substance, who've been out here fighting and ain't making a whole lot of money, but they got a whole lot of knowledge that can help us with a whole lot of problems. That's right. That we still continue to struggle with resolving. So anyway, Brother Joe, I was talking about this whole political landscape where we're being pushed as Black people to vote, as though it's going to be the end of the world.
Or solve our problems.
And it's going to solve our problems if Donald Trump gets in. And if Hillary gets in, all of a sudden the conditions and the mindset and the behavior of our people is going to change. What do you think, Joe? And thank you for coming in today, brother.
Well, I think, and thank you for having me. I think they're one of the same person, so it really doesn't make a difference.
You mean it's 6 in one hand and a half a dozen in the other one?
Yes, it's the same thing. So we've been voting Democratic for the last 50 years, maybe,
or more.
And the Democrats have done nothing but have went out of their way to undermine Black folks. I would like to say maybe in the 70s when the Civil Rights Movement was passed, they made an agreement to take all the jobs from us out of our neighborhood. So the things that we're seeing now it's been a plan. All right, so now they've taken all the jobs out of labor. So now they put the gay rights movement over Black people. They put the illegal immigrants over Black people. And they have passed legislation that they didn't pass for us, giving these people guaranteed rights to housing and whatnot. They never gave it to us. And we are the injured people in this country. And I don't see Hillary doing no more than Trump. So to me, they're the same people. I don't think that we're gonna gain anything from either one of them. We're always at the bottom of the poll and at the total poll, and I haven't heard either one of them make a platform to say, well, this is what I'm gonna do for Black folks. You know, we have the president who have given the Asians and everybody else reparations, however you want to call it, the Vietnamese everybody else and receive reparations from him. But he has not acknowledged our plight in this country. And so I don't think that Hillary or Donald Trump has a platform that's going to address the issues in the Black community, other than just the same old thing that they're doing right now, going to the University of Chicago, these institutions, the Great White Hope, Father Flag, putting our problem in the hand of white folks, having us have to deal with trusting them to solve our problem. As it stands today, we still, 90% of Black people still have to depend on white people. I don't think we can say that with the Arabs. I don't think we can say that with the Mexicans and the Hispanics, because all of them got a foundation, they got a country to return to. We don't have that. They got somebody to complain to. When you go to New York, what is the United Nations? We don't have no embassy in the United Nations that we can complain to. We got to complain to the people that's been putting their foot around that. So all we're doing now is just here in this country is getting along. Everybody that come to this country aspire for what? Power and wealth. All we want to do is get along with people. So I don't see Hillary giving us any power. I don't see Donald Trump giving us any power. So I don't see us as a people taking that stride toward excellence or taking that stride toward autonomy. What was that that they just had in Indiana, that conference of what it was called?
I'm not familiar with it.
It was 20 years ago.
It was 20-year anniversary.
Yeah, 20-year anniversary of the.
I forget the name of it.
But it was held in Indiana. I can't remember it right now. It escapes me. But my point is that when we had these conferences, we never talk about how we're going to protect Black folks. All we talk about is how we're going to better the white man's system. Outside of Gaddafi, I've never heard of another system that goes against the European system other than what he was talking about in the Green Book. So if we're not going to go against the American system and we're just going to sit there and go along with it, then we're not going to never have nothing.
And when you talk about a platform, and let's look at like a platter. What's on that platter for us? Because I might be a vegetarian, or I might be a vegan, or etc. And you look at this plate of food,
all pork, and you got
all pork. So I'm gonna starve to death.
That's right. And that's pretty much, and you sum it up, right? Because
that's an analogy right there. Right. He was like, we ain't getting nothing to eat.
That's right, and that's pretty much how things operate.
Right, because in the capacity that you've worked over the years, and I know, brother, I gotta say this. Folks have called you and others agitators. You all have gone into meetings and you listen to, folks selling people false hope. And then it's like, well, let's educate the people so that when people decide to run for office and to beg or ask for our vote, how do we intelligently, and that's one of the things that we talked about in the new Black leadership, was the leverage that we have. First, there's an educational component where we have members laying out the scientific, the political, the historical, the spiritual, and etc., the economics of the system. And then more so, we got people dealing with the community, the family, the youth, etc.
We're all over the place. But let me say this. I say this time and time again. We can't combat racism in the United States because of classes. And a lot of the problems that we're having now, I would say that maybe 70% of our problem is racism, but 30% is classism now. And the classism is stopping us from developing collectively. We can't take the next step.
Break that down. Because to people that's listening, Joe Watkins just mentioned something that I've heard even Minister Mike talk about and others. Joe just mentioned classism, not just racism, but classism. And And that means us.
Right. What's the
Two.
Right. What's the fellow name? The white guy, Tom Tressler, who's been fighting about the TIF.
The TIF funding.
Yeah, he's been fighting about the TIF funding. Anyway, he got a book out called "Chicago Is Not Broke."
Oh yeah, I heard that.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Tom
Tressler,
Finch.
No, I think it's Tressler.
Okay, well I know Tom. I heard him talk about that too.
Well, I think it's 4 authors. With I think Armenia, also the lady, she's the 5th author, I think. But my point is this: in some of the synopsis is from
not Tom Finch.
From his book. It speaks on how our city council, especially our black city council, has sold the community out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What they get about $1.3 million plus the $1 million expense money, and everything that they do is against the development of our community. Say, for instance, we fight for construction jobs in our community. We have aldermen that get in office don't have no idea about the construction industry, yet they'll hire somebody who don't know about the construction industry as well. And then when we go to these forums or these meetings with them, they will say, well, there's nothing we can do about it because they're using private dollars. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing goes on in this world, especially in the city of Chicago in the United States of America, that doesn't involve federal tax dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And for all of you all who don't know, you go read Title VI. Mm-hmm. And this goes for your school, your housing, your employment, the whole 9 yards. The federal government, city of Chicago, is discriminating against African American, against black people. I'm not gonna say African American. African Americans, those people I'm talking about now, those middle class people who think they're the elites, the elites, who, like
the illusion.
When I was telling some fellows the other day, we were driving up and down 47th Street up on Greenwood, Lake Park, Woodline, Ellis. These black folks that's got this foundation that's been staying in these neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. You never see them out on nothing, but they're maintaining themselves, right?
And they go to all of the,
everything,
all the balls, all the fairs,
right,
all the conferences.
So then you wonder to yourself, you said, well, we got this class stratum in our community who are doing well, but why aren't they addressing the suffering of the people who they're down the block,
Joe,
down the street from?
Check this out, Joe. On 71st Street, right there near the Highlands.
Mm-hmm.
The Highlands got some of the most expensive homes and some of the most, I'm not going to call you affluent because I'll be misleading you, but folks who have decent jobs
mm-hmm.
and make decent money.
Mm-hmm.
That's who you are. You can put that other label because you go to all of the galas.
But they say it's business. They say they can't make decisions to help us because it's a business decision. And that's the excuse that we use. But then that goes back to what I was just saying, how we still, 90% of African Americans, 90% of black people together, we had to depend on white folks. Because the so-called middle class, if they would step out and try to help us, they'd lose their contracts. So then they'd be back poor with us, and then there'd be no black middle class. So we don't have we don't have that investment in ourselves.
Joe, can I ask you this, and Minister Michael, and this is for everybody out there. What you just said is so true. And Minister Michael always hit this right on the head. And you said it just a couple of minutes ago, fear, right? Mm-hmm. You mentioned fear. And so I want to connect fear with, since we all going to transition, die mm-hmm. from this particular dispensation, this world, one day, don't know when, but why are we afraid to be a man or a woman and look out for those who don't have?
Because many of us are afraid to die, and many of us don't have a cause. See, people die for a cause. Right now, as I said earlier,
that's bad.
We are the only people who just want to get along with people. Like, what's that, Rodney King? Why can't we just get along? Everybody else that come over here wants power. They want control. They want autonomy. They want wealth.
They want to be respected.
All we want to do is just, why can't we just get along? So nobody has respect for us because we don't have that instinct to control our destiny.
And ain't it sad that when you think about special interest groups, we got special interest individuals.
Yes.
So we got special interest individuals. Most people got special interest groups. I've never heard of that. But we got a few guys who sneak through the back door. They starting to go through the front now. They done lost total disrespect. They used to go through the back door. And, you know, they come to the people and they sound like, you know, power to the people. But soon as they finish talking that, they go and get them some crumbs. Wow. And these are the people who push just voting and voting and voting, well, yet no economics. And that's why last week we quoted the piece that the minister came up with, Brother Farrakhan, that said that politics without economics is symbol without substance. Right. Politics without economics,
they go together.
They go together.
Right. But it goes down to this too. We have a so-called wealthy class of African American people in our community who, if the three of us would have started a business, would not give us a contract. And I'm gonna give you an example in the Brownsville community where I stay. We cannot cut the grass of the so-called middle class people in Hyde Park, all up and down Oakenwall, Lake Park. You know.
Did you say you live in Bronzeville?
Well, it's finna be changed. It's finna be Whiteville in a minute, or somebody else's view. But let me tell you this: we got this self-hatred that these middle class people hate us because they will not let us cut their grass, but they'll hire Hispanics to cut their grass.
What is that about?
I don't know, and it's trending all through this neighborhood. So for those of us who got these little landscape companies that we started up, we can't even get a contract for our own people. And therein lies the problem that we have with our children. See, they've turned their back on our children. So now there's no one cure to stop youth violence now. We done got in this quagmire, in this hole now. It's gonna take many things. It's gonna take maybe 5 avenues. And I would say that the family probably had to be first to pull us out of the hole, bringing the family structure back together, because we don't have no respect for one another. And that loss of respect and consciousness for one another is our demise. So out of all the other things that maybe need to go with it, I think that should be at the head of it. And then I think that we need to, I was just talking to Mr. Mike about, we need a demonstration grant. We need to go into these neighborhoods and pay these children. Since that's all we got them in that mode now that they don't do nothing unless they get paid anyway, right?
Right.
So we should pay them to learn about who they are, pay them to be activists. You know, Black Lives Matter doing it.
Right.
Right. All these other groups, they're getting paid to do it. So why not pay our children? You know, like why not come and argument?
Oh yeah, but everybody uses that method.
Right.
That, you know, jobs.
Yeah,
a job.
Acorn.
Got to pay you.
Right.
But they paying everybody else. Matter of fact, if they were not paying the other people, what do you think they'd be doing?
Right.
If they were not getting some income, some kind of way, they gonna find a way to survive.
Right. And then you have our president in our mayor, who has given the University of Chicago $200 million for this program called BAM, Becoming a Man. So they want white people to teach black people how to become a man. Now they started WHAM, teach a woman how to become a woman.
Oh, they got a WHAM?
Yeah, they got a WHAM too. Yeah.
Now for many years when I was at the Chicago Urban League,
somebody told me that they let me say this. Somebody told me that they paid the white boy who started BAM, gave him $500,000, told him to go about his business now. So they put a black face on him now. So it's supposed to be structured with black folks. And I think the incentive for the women is a black and a white woman. I'm not sure, but outside of.
But let me tell you this, and this is not an indictment against some of those who are sincere about, you know, helping young black males. But I have to say this: if you are not a soldier and you have not had the training that's required to get into the mind and into the heart and soul of young black males, then you gaming because you don't have what it takes to keep them going. And when they leave your presence, they don't have the wherewithal to survive out here. So I just think it's disingenuous for people to play that game, whether it's called wham bam or thank you ma'am. The bottom line.
But listen to this. In the street we call it gaming, but at the universities they call it creaming. That means they're taking the best of the best. And so the hard serve, they leave that to us with no funding, no service, no psychology, no nothing. They leave the hard of the serve to us.
Wow.
But the creaming it means that the so-called middle class and the well-to-do children participates in their program. So that's their following, that's their flock.
What keeps you going? I mean, you've had an interesting history. What I know about you, Joe Watkins, and many people, viewers watching, know you. I mean, to me, it's phenomenal. It's amazing. It's awesome because your mind is on time, and people, intelligent people that's listening to this conversation that know the truth, they would say, wow, a breath of fresh air. Where has this guy been? Why he not on a radio station that we hear in the morning just yapping off? But what keeps you going, Joe? What is it, honestly, that made you be the man that you are? Because you mentioned the family structure, and just what is it?
I would think pain and suffering. I would think the pain and the suffering that I went through as a child, as a teenager, and even as some part of my adult life, it's my motivating factor because I love Black people. I hear people say Black lives matter. Black lives don't matter to me. Black empowerment matters to me. Because see, some of these people who represent Black lives, I think they need to be thrown under the bus because they're leading us down the wrong path. They're calling out, they got us, first let me give you an example. They got us saying that we people of color, and everything we do, we're helping Hispanics or other people, but you never hear nobody talking for us. And so I think they're leading us down the wrong path. And then now we have a generation of young kids where they say, well, we come up whereas in order to be a man, you got to see a man and be treated like a man. We're coming up in a generation now where it's all right to say for another man look down the crack of another man's butt. And that's part of the gay agenda. Whereas the young people who say it are the same ones who support the gay agenda, or they don't care, they don't have a say so. When we came up, we had a say so about the direction of our lives and things that affect us. Now we're living in a time where they don't. And I equate that to the so-called, I'm gonna blame it on a couple of factors. I'm gonna say that the middle class factor, the democratic factor, even some of the Black people who don't know they're poor or suffering, who want to get along with other people. Like you see this trending of this mixed race, Mexican and Hispanic, or Black people having babies by Hispanics. This trending now. And so now you have, if you and I, or I was to say that I'm a Black nationalist, then somebody tell me I'm a racist because I believe in being Black first or helping out people first. And then if you got some room, then you help somebody else. Other people believe in helping other people that don't look like us first, over us. And the leftovers go to us. And that's how we've been operating in this country. That's how we operate in the city of Chicago. And here it is. The fella that just got found guilty of what's the guy just got found guilty of? Anyway, it's another in a series of the fella Sanchez first. When the HDO came out, and he was hired specifically to fire Black folks to create a revenue for Hispanics. Okay.
Yeah, the streets.
The same thing with the fellow who just got arrested for the red light camera. See, they put their people in strategic positions to make sure that they don't give us anything. And then you have, let's say, for instance, like housing. No Black person. Matter of fact, If you look around homelessness in the city of Chicago, what face you see on it? You see black people. You don't see Hispanics sleeping under there. You may see one. You may see a few white people who are mentally ill sleeping under the Waldorf and all that. But 97% of the people that's homeless in Chicago are black people of African American descent. And here we have a housing structure with the hood and the Section 3 vouchers, or CHA, should I say what I was going to say. And here you have Eastern Europeans that come from different countries and dominated hood housing, dominated CHA housing over black people who've been waiting on this, who got vouchers or certificates or got numbers, been waiting for the last 5 or 10 years since the plan of transformation. But now we done created this stock where Hispanics dominate scattered sites now. Hispanics taking over the Section 8. Eastern Europeans taking over the vouchers, all the vouchers. You understand me? Why black people just holding their voucher, can't find nowhere to live. The federal government is complicit, especially in Chicago, and the federal government under Barack Obama's administration is complicit in making sure that black folks stay homeless. And I say this because when you look at the guidelines of when we came up as children, the red line and the blockbuster and all that mess, it's actually the same thing, but it's being disguised or hidden in a different way because our children can't identify racism. So when you ask them about racism, they don't know, and then they tell you that you're racist because they don't know. You understand me? But yet when you look at the way the housing is being done, how
institutional racism,
institutional, national, or however you want to call it, across the board, we're losing in this country. And the number one wealth of black people is not business, it's home ownership. And
what do you mean by that?
Well, the only equity and the only empowerment that we've gathered, that I would say that probably created the first wave of middle class was back home ownership. Right? Where they were able to own their home and be able to take their home and use as collateral to buy a car or invest in business or something. We don't have that opportunity right now. And most of the homes are being stolen. I was just thinking about something the other day about the credit cards, for instance. I heard something on the radio or the TV that says that everybody in the world got, I think they say only 43% of the world, or 43% of the United States are not computer savvy or not into the credit card industry. And when I thought about it, I said, well, if the whole world, the whole United States was to get involved in the credit card, they can steal everything black people got. You understand me? Because we don't control that money, the way it's circulating. Look, I can go in the bank, I got a few $100. I can't even spend my own money. If I spend over $300, the bank stops me. If I go in there to try to take my money out, I got to talk to the head of the bank and everybody about my money. So you see the control that we're under. And that's the same thing it takes into the housing. All right?
Let me answer this question from your political perspective. Is there a difference? And I think you said it in terms of the candidates, but when you look at the two parties, do we really have a two-party system here in America?
No, it's the same people. It's just white folks taking turns, that's all. And blacks being puppets to them. If I was a bad person, I would do bad things to our black politicians because they really don't even need to be in office because they're selling us out. And if you notice, even when they lose their spot, the white man takes them and puts them somewhere else because of the due diligence that they done while they were in office to make sure they keep other black folks
due diligence?
Yes. They're doing everything the white folks asked them to do. Look at the property taxes. Look at the game that the Saudi they played on us, talking about they were stopping the bonding at the O'Hare Airport because they don't have black people receiving contracts. Yeah. Look at the park district. If you look at every black park, in the white neighborhoods, they can stay in the park all night. We had to be at our park at 9 o'clock. But on their sign, it says 11 o'clock, or our sign says 9 o'clock. So we had to be out of the park. We got to get a permit to go in our own park. But in the white folks' park, they can stay there all night. So we got this separate but unequal. This racism is in every facet of everything that we do.
I know we went to the parks for free. Folks, if you want to talk with Brother Joe Watkins, 708-223-8953. Joe Watkins, you don't mind answering some questions, because you're bringing it good, Brother Joe. And I think people, we can agree to disagree, but I think you and anybody, and even the elected officials, it is really better that you talk about it versus just letting it go unchallenged.
Yes.
And Joe says what he says, Minister Michael says what he says, or I say what I'm saying, or whoever. And if you being charged, to being complicit, or, and Joe used the word due diligence, you get awarded.
Yes.
For that. I think you should speak up, call in, and say, that's not what I'm about. I have a strategy, and what I'm doing ultimately is going to benefit the Black community in this way, because our community, as you said, brother, very plainly, we're hurting. I mean, jobs are not in our community.
I've been trying to figure out who's the worst, the Blacks under Ron Emanuel or the Blacks under Mike Madigan. And I think they're about even. But I think back to the days when they were trying to do the straighten the penitentiary out. Well, we had the votes, the Democrats, and when they were trying to get good time, and and we know right now that there's been an increase in violent crime. So we know that these penitentiaries should not be packed with low-level crime. You got people in jail for traffic tickets. You got people in jail with $200 bonds. You got people in jail for marijuana, and they supposed to have been to change the marijuana law, but they still locking them up, and they can't get out on bond. And so you have legislators, the Crook County, Frederick, and all the crooks at the county, and then you have Mike Madigan, who would not pass early release to let those people out. And so what they do the scare tactic to let you. So when they letting criminals out, and then the statistics about what's the fella name? The new fella Johnson, the superintendent of police. Johnson. Yeah, he's a creep too. Let me tell you something. He's on the radio or TV talking about the gun. First they say they know who the 1,200 people are that's committing the crime. If you do, lock their ass up. Then he turned around and say that crime's not gonna stop until Springfield legislates some time to get these guys with the pistol. Well, they're lying to people, because 90% of the people that's doing murder the first time shooters. You understand what I'm saying to you? And they're not telling you all that. They're making you all think that these same guys that got arrested with a pistol are troublemakers. Well, let me say this. I've been arrested for UUW, as well as called when we were coming up, 12 times. Only 2 times I actually had a pistol. The other 10 times they gave it to me. You understand me? But when you look at
what do you mean they gave it to you?
Like 3 of us in the car, and they came and searched your car, and they found the pistols because I was running off at the mouth. They gave the case to me, and I was hanging out in the pool room. Every time they came in the pool room and found a 22 or 45 or 38 in one of them pool pockets or in the garbage can or behind the pop machine, they gave it to me.
There's Joe's.
Yes, it's Joe's pistol. And so I accumulated 12 arrests for that, But I think I only been arrested twice, or maybe once or twice. But I would say the second time I was kind of guilty. But
you was carrying a guilty Joe.
Well, what I mean by that was I was with my homie and I knew he had a pistol, but they gave it to me. Now I got arrested with a pistol before on the air. Going to the show one time, and I was about 19. I had my gun tied to my leg. But I want to say the reason I bring the pistol up is because everybody that get arrested for a pistol is not a murderer. And everybody that get arrested for a pistol is not a bad person. Now, we got white folks that got the Second Amendment right to carry a pistol and do what they want to do. If they get crazy, like I tell people, white folks will commit suicide, take black folks with them. If a white person just wants to go on a rampage, he can shoot us and nothing's going to happen. And we're looking at that right now, where the police are killing us, right? So it's not how or what the person done with a pistol, but they try to make an issue out of it because they don't have a reason, or should I say, they don't have a goal to combat or stop the youth violence.
So it's saving our seeds, working with ex-offender. Is it connected to?
It was founded on that basis. Yes.
It was founded on that basis.
Yes.
Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Well, Saving Our Seeds was founded actually in 2000. And we incorporated in 2001 or 2002. I think we put paperwork in 2001 and was incorporated in 2002. And our sole purpose was to help men and women get out of prison. And so we did it because of the, I think in maybe, was it 97, when they were building the police station and a few things downtown. We got involved in community activism and protesting the construction sites. And so our niche had been sitting down construction sites, getting jobs for men and women that's getting out of prison. And so that had been our motivating factor.
Mm-hmm.
So we were all over the city. I think we were rushing, I don't know, I probably participated in 1,000 campaigns, sitting down construction sites, getting guys jobs. And we buy them state ID and birth certificates when they come home, you know.
Oh, okay.
Our hardest task, and we send them to our referral partners for food and clothing, but our hardest task has been housing. And that's how come we kind of segue into dealing with the CHA now. We were instrumental in, what's the fellow named Sean Donovan who stepped down? I mean, he did step down. He was replaced in the Barack's administration. Well, he written a letter to all the public housing management, you know, the CHA, maybe some of some other states, that they cannot, or they can no longer discriminate against people with criminal backgrounds. And a lot of people don't know that. People don't even know that they can move in public housing now with criminal background. They kind of frown upon people with pistols or people with drugs. But if you're 5 or 3 years time, they'll consider putting you back in there. But let me say this real quick. We fought the CHA tooth over their hand and fist about them creating a program that would hire men who get out of prison. Some of these creeps that participated in our campaign or our coalition were behind our back and told them to get a program, do the program for women. Women don't have problem getting housing, but these young women do because they're out of the loop. Because they're, you know, we have a generation now that no education, you know, didn't make it to third grade. So a lot of times they don't even know what it means to live, to survive for themselves. But some of our coalition partners went behind our back and said, well, don't give it to Saving Our Seeds, and don't give it to Community Mail, or don't give it to some other coalition partners, but get a program to St. Leonard's House and to the white folks, the Chicago Housing Initiative, give it to Safer. You know, the same crooks. Those are crooks. Because they have not, as long as they're getting fed to make sure that our problems are not solved, then they're going to give you little bitty gains. You understand me? And a lot of people look to them because they don't know no better.
Okay.
But oftentimes they're getting donations from the gas company, from anybody. $6 million endowments, $10 million, $3 million. That's going to their staff. And if you look at most of these organizations, 85% of the money goes to the administration. It doesn't go to legs on the, hands on the ground. Putting people out there in the trenches or them becoming entrepreneurs. If they know that their biggest problem is finding housing for men that's getting out of prison, why don't you take some of the millions of dollars and buy up some of these abandoned buildings? You understand?
That makes sense.
Safer should have 5,000 houses right now.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at all of the abandoned buildings in Inglewood and in Roseland, on the west side, abandoned buildings, and you look at vacant lots, abandoned buildings, just weeds growing everywhere. That's a job. That's construction.
Let me say that, and that reminds me of the alderman in the Third Ward, Pat Dow. 5 or 6 years ago, during her first term, we asked her about letting the residents buy the lots. Professor Lance and a few of us. Mm-hmm. I took them to meet her, and so she turned them down. She said, write me a essay on what you're gonna do with the land, and I'll make a decision. So they did all that, and she said no. But she turned around and gave all the land to white folks. And so her excuse was that white folks got money to develop the land, so that's why she gave it to them. So that's what I'm telling you now. That's the justification that these people see. If you look at another thing too, all our leadership were not born and raised in Chicago, so they're not connected to us. You understand me? They come from other states. So everybody you see, every organization that you see, from all the organizations that Preckwinkle started, she's not from Chicago. All the organizations that you see in our community, the head of these organizations come from South Carolina, Louisiana, they're not here. So they're not connected to us. And they're here just to be buffers to make sure they keep control us. You understand me? And so Pat Dowell gives the land to white folks. So now, same thing in Inglewood is part of war too. That means now that we're not going to ever be able to own and control our destiny because all the property is going to be controlled by people who don't live in our neighborhood. Back to the slum landlord when we were children, how the Jews owned all the wealth. They would just come and get the money and let the land go down. But in this case, they're upgraded now, so they're gonna make money off of it. But she has not put black folks in that position. I'm talking about indigenous.
And I gotta really have a conversation. I know we only have a few minutes left on the show because I definitely have conversations with Alderman Dow, with Alderman Harris, all of them, because and I have to address that. Joe, me, I do. I promise you, some of the stuff that I don't know, that I'm informed, and I go and I say, now, is there a way to correct that? And you saying that by the time we even get into power, it's grabbed. Are you saying the majority of the land is grabbed, and are we not respected, you say, enough to where we can just pool our dollars together and do that same project where the other individual, they just come and write a check and they got the banks that's gonna give them the loans or give them, or they got the money, period. Because I know communities where I see the abandoned buildings and let me say this. You said something earlier. When I get off the expressway on 55th, Garfield, right there, to make a right turn to go east, there's 2 or 3, 4, 5 same black men. Every day they there. I don't know if you guys have noticed them. Every day. They are
peddling water.
Yeah, but these guys are on heroin. Hard core heroin.
Not in the middle of the street, stopping the traffic.
Why have not folks who supposed to, all of us disposed to serve the community, why haven't we, you didn't say what you gonna do, straight jacket them? Where if they got some kind of illnesses, shouldn't we, it's like a man laying out in the street dying, and we see, and we don't go to that person's aid. Why do we continue? The majority of 98% of our community, 98, if not 99%, even after church.
But let me tell you this real quick.
They ride past those men dying.
And those same 3 men that you see out there, you can see that the white girl or the white dude to come out there, right? And I have stood in line waiting on the light to change the turn myself. And I see black people giving the white folks money and don't get the black people dying. And I see it every day.
The drug addict.
But the white people are drug addicts too.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The white drug addicts.
Yeah. You got one of them that be in the chair and the other one that just stands up, the girl. And I see black people giving them money, don't get the black people a dime. So we got this self-hatred that's going on in our community with this middle class stratus. So
the classism piece that you
the classism
is really heavy.
That's why we can't cure racism, because of classism.
Wow.
That's the only reason we haven't solved that problem. Because those who are classes, they don't believe in reparations.
They don't think reparations. I've heard some
our children are beginning to come around now, begin to understand it. But we got people that's baby boomers who are adamantly opposed you're receiving
And let me tell
recognition.
you, I've heard some of the silly people on some of the stations that the majority of, well, I wouldn't say the majority of black people, but a segment of our community, which are not the millennials, they listen to this particular station. And when you bring up the word reparation, they shoot it down, and they always find excuses. And then they want to say, well, if you gave them reparations, you know, all they gonna do is go and buy up so and so. You don't know what you're right. You buying up some stupid stuff yourself.
That's what keeps the world going around.
You know, buying up something.
And
then nothing but bling bling materialistic stuff is in their face. After you get through watching, while you watching Empire and Scandal or Power, all you see is commercials.
Yes.
They got more commercials doing those shows,
but you know what?
To subliminally drive your butt to buying more stuff. So you really need to get a grip, or you need a checkup from the neck up.
That's right.
Because you ain't thinking your doggone self. But classism, that whole piece, man, is quite deep, you know, and disturbing. So we got a couple of minutes, got to go in a minute, but we have had Joe Watkins.
Well,
you know, when I hear your name, Joe,
next week.
Yeah, come back. When I hear your name, Joe Watkins, you know what I think about, right? Richard Pryor.
Oh, okay.
Because Richard Pryor told me some, you know, boy, you messing with Joe Watkins, baby. You know, because Joe Watkins bringing it to you in his own way, very sincere, whether you agree to disagree, etc. But I want to thank you, brother, for coming on. And I invite, and I'm going to have the elected officials on here to defend themselves about what it is you being accused, charged, and criticized about. Anyway, thank you all for listening live to Joe Watkins. Still got Minister Mike in the studio. Thank Brother Earl, the producer of IntellectualRadio.com. And thank you all for tuning in. And don't forget, you can go live, or you can go right now and check this out on YouTube and on iHeartRadio. Don't forget, look up the New Black Leadership Coalition. Coming to a theater near you. Peace.